They are among the brightest students in the country, toppers in the UPSC exam. We are extremely privileged to have several of them on the show tonight. Before we speak to them, let me introduce them first properly. And you really want to hear this. Jatin Kishore, ranked second, resident of Delhi. He topped the Indian Economic Service exam in 2018. He's a master's in economics from the Delhi School of Economics. He cleared the exam in his second attempt. He didn't make it through the prelim stage in his first attempt. That's interesting. His father works with the revenue department. His mother is a teacher. Pratibha Verma, ranked 3, topper among women candidates. An IIT Delhi graduate. She worked in the private sector for 2 years. She's from Sultanpur in Uttar Pradesh. Both her parents are teachers. She was ranked 489 in her previous attempt. We'll forget about that considering she's number 3 right now. Himanshu Jain, ranked number 4, a native of Palwal in Haryana. Moved to Delhi at the age of 15. Studied economics honours from Hansraj College. His father is a businessman, his mom a homemaker. Vishakha Yadav, ranked 6th, the second topper among women candidates, a BTech from the Delhi College of Engineering. Father, an assistant sub-inspector in the Delhi police. She couldn't clear the exams in her previous 2 attempts, so she went to her dad and he said, look, you got to fight on, and she's number 6 in India. Now, after that introduction, I confess I'm feeling rather intimidated. I'm not sure I have anything to ask them because these 4 individuals are quite certainly much smarter than me. But I have a job to do, so let me try. Let me go across to you first. Pratibha, IIT Delhi, you studied engineering and physics. What made you decide to be a civil servant?
First of all, thank you so much for welcoming me here and giving me this opportunity to talk with you. I decided to go for engineering in 2008 when I saw that my brother also wanted to become an engineer. But at the bottom of my heart, I always wanted to go for Indian Administrative Services because I was inspired by what my parents wanted for me and what kind of change was brought by all the civil servants that were serving India. So I was inspired by their work, and further when I got to interact with a number of people during my college days when I was working with NSS, I was inspired that I want to work with them. I want to work for them, and I want to solve their problems. So that was a moment for realization for me that I wanted to work for the society and nothing else.
Himanshu, you ranked 4th. I assume you joining the IAS as well. Was that what you always wanted to do? Be in the IAS, not the IFS or anything of that sort?
So thanks for having me here first of all. And yes, it was a very earlier dream that I wanted to be an IAS. I decided it when I was in school. Then I decided it to be to give it a chance after I finished college. I filled my preferences in the order I wanted. I filled it with the IAS first, and with rank 4, I'm pretty sure that I will be able to get it.
I think that's the understatement of the year. With rank 4, I'm pretty certain that you would absolutely be able to get it. Why do you want to be an administrator, Himanshu?
So by being an administrator, we get to have the means for what we want to do for the society. Having means is a very great opportunity to have the chance that we want to achieve, because there are people who want to do something for other people, for the public, as a public service, but they lack means. They lack the means to do things. But as a civil servant, you have the means, and we can definitely use those means to serve the public in every field that we want, especially the education and health sectors.
Pratibha, I mean, you got into IIT Delhi, you're an engineer as well. What engineer are you? What sort of engineer?
So I completed my BTech in engineering physics, which is a relatively new branch in India. Yeah.
how have you mastered the art of cracking exams? Because the IIT entrance exams are some of the toughest exams in the world. The UPSC exams are probably the toughest exams in the world in terms of competition. How have you mastered the art of cracking exams?
Well, first of all, I'm very thankful to the support that my family and friends had given me throughout this journey. If it wasn't for their support, I couldn't have done it. Secondly, I have never been the most intelligent person in my classroom, but I always believed that I have to work really, really hard. I have to practice over and over again, and I have to revise everything that I read multiple times so that I can consolidate my knowledge and I can reproduce it correctly when I'm finally appearing in the exam. So for me, it has just been consistency and regular hard work. That's all I can say.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Jatin Kishore, UPSC, the second rank holder, a graduate in economics from St. Stephen's College, a master in economics from the Delhi School of Economics, number 2 in the UPSC examinations. Thanks very much for joining us. I assume
Thank you for
your
having me.
background in economics, gets you really well set in a career as an administrator. Is that something which you really felt that I really have the background to be an administrator as I go into the UPSC exams? Is that something you felt gave you an edge?
I think economics is something which, so basically economics deals with the science of utilizing our scarce resources to make the best use out of them. So I think it will help me some way in how I watch the job, because as you all know, resources are limited even in the districts or wherever we'll be serving.
Right.
And I think my training in economics use those resources to help serve the country as best as I can.
We'll just fix your line, come back to you in a moment. I want to go back to Himanshu for a moment. Himanshu, tell us about that moment when you found out your results. I mean, who told you, or did you see it yourself?
So the moment was a very special one. Actually, my father was diagnosed with TB and he had been hospitalized for the last 21 days. And the day results came, he was going to be discharged on that same day. So the doctor signed the discharge on 10 a.m. and the results came around at 12. And I was coming back to the hospital after doing the formalities. And then when I was entering the hospital, I was in the line, and a friend of mine named Diksha told me that the result are out, and should she tell me the results or should I check myself? She asked me the question. So it was the very delightful moment for me, and especially I was amazed, and it was very scary too. So I had to hold my breath for a very, very long time until she told me that my name was in the list. And especially when I found out that I had secured rank 4, it was a very, very special moment for me. And I straight away went to my father, and who was inside, and told him the news. And then I think the recovery at which the recovery would take place at a much stronger pace now. So the moment was a very special one, came with a dual happiness.
Okay. Pratibha, I must confess, one of the reasons I never took the UPSC exam was because I was too scared of failure. My father was in the Foreign Service. He'd come, I think, 4th in the exams himself, way back in 1970. And then I felt that, I would never be able to make it myself, and so I never ended up taking it. So my question is this. Did the fear of failure never worry you at all?
Well, I was always worried that I probably may not succeed where I'm going. And when I appeared for my first prelims in 2017, I did not even clear the stage of prelims. So that fear was enhanced at that time, that probably next year too, I will not be able to clear it. So I was always worried. I was anxious that I could fail at any stage of this examination. But I can just say that it was my parents who constantly motivated me that we believe in you, and at some point you have to believe in yourself that you can do it. It's just an exam at the end, and even if you don't succeed, you will do wonderful things in my life. And it was their support and their constant guidance and motivation that I could maintain my spirit throughout this examination.
That's fantastic. Well, joining us now, Vishakha Yadav. She's the second topper among women candidates, a BTech from the Delhi College of Engineering. Her father is an assistant sub-inspector in the Delhi Police. She didn't clear her previous 2 attempts, but she kept fighting. Vishakha, thanks very much for being with us. Congratulations. It's absolutely incredible. Is that what you learned from your father? That you just don't give up. You just keep working. You just keep fighting till your dreams come true. There is nothing tougher than being a sub-inspector in the Delhi Police. It's a difficult job, and he does it. And you've managed. He must be so proud of you. I mean, what does he have to say?
Namaste. And first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to the show. And you're right. I feel very, very honored and inspired from my father. And I think from my childhood itself, I have seen him work for the public in various ways. So that has left a deep impact on me. And I would also like to take the opportunity to highlight that as a daughter of Delhi Police family, we have 6 selections from Delhi Police this year in CSC 19. And I think it's a matter of great pride for us.
That's absolutely incredible. Did you ever want to be a police officer? Vishakha, did you ever want to be a police officer?
Yes, actually, I had felt IPS as my second preference.
Oh, really? Okay.
But since my rank was 6, so I could get my first preference IAS. I believe all the services are equally good, but the spectrum of activities and diversity which IAS can provide would help us do better jobs.
Okay.
And more impact towards the life of people.
Okay.
So yes, that was my first preference.
So Jatin, let me ask you, I mean, something which you will encounter as an administrator, as a young IAS student, as a young IAS officer, you will be taught to be independent, you will be taught to fight for the truth, you will be taught about the values of the Constitution, you will be rigorously taught about the law and what you need to protect. And yet we exist in a system which is at so many levels inherently corrupt. Do you feel that there will be occasions when you will have to choose between what your heart says and what you're obliged to do?
I'm sure there might be some such moments, but I think we have to keep our focus at that particular moment. In fact, that's the most important time to keep our focus. And I think, like you mentioned, the Constitution should be our guiding book. Whatever we should be doing, we should do. The Constitution should always be in our minds. And I think that is the biggest factor that should come in mind. One shouldn't have regrets in life that I could have done this. And I feel in such situations, both the heart and the mind should align.
Okay. Vishakha, fighting corruption is something your father would be doing, if not on a weekly basis, perhaps even on a monthly basis. Corruption exists in so many different ways. As an IAS officer, you would need to fight corruption, and you would need to come up against political voices who are strongly pressurizing you, perhaps other members of the system who are pressurizing you. And you have your values and your beliefs. Would you be able to handle that pressure? Vishakha, go ahead.
Yeah. So, yes, it's true that our service is very challenging, and I think going ahead, it is only going to get more difficult and challenging. But I think we should be mentally prepared, and I think we all took this decision very with a lot of thoughts and deliberation, that it is not just a job, but I would say a service to the society, people, and nation. So I think with psychological strength and true devotion to our service, we can always find a way through the difficulties.
Himanshu, does the thought that the lives of people who you serve, for example, when you're a district magistrate or a district collector or an officer in a subdivision somewhere, the fact that you are responsible for the lives of countless people in the area that you're working, is that something that inspires you? Is that something that intimidates you? Is that something that challenges you in your mind? Do you know how big a responsibility it is, Himanshu?
Definitely, sir. The responsibility itself is a huge, because the lives of so many people are involved, and I owe them the responsibility. But it is equally challenging and promising that if I am responsible for so many lives, I should do my work with the proper honesty and integrity. So I think the solution comes within itself, that so many people will be happy if you serve them well. So that is the inspiration they give themselves.
Pratibha, a good administrator also has to be a friend. It's not just about wielding the baton, so to speak, or the rule book, so to speak. You're also an elder sister. You have to deal with women who are distressed. You have to deal with children. You have to deal with human rights. You have to deal with the environment. These are issues which affect so many people. How is being a friend to the people you serve so important to ensure that you get the results that you seek?
It is really important that you are able to listen to the problems that people are facing, and you can only do that when you are a friend to people, when you have a sense of empathy and a sense of compassion towards their problem, when you can sit down and listen to them and talk to them, not just preach or give a speech to them. So it's very, very important that the people who are marginalized, people who are vulnerable, who are feeling weak, you can talk to them. So for that, I think every civil servant has to have an attitude where he is collaborating with the stakeholders involved, with the people they're working for. So in that sense, I think every civil servant has to work with the leaders of Gram Panchayat, Sarpanch. A number of women Sarpanch are there in our country, so we have to work with them, who are working directly with the people of their villages and people of their cities. And we have to work with a number of NGOs, we have to work with a number of self-help groups where we can directly interact with people and listen to their problems. So being a friend is a very important quality in a civil servant, and I would work very hard and I would try my best that I can be as friendly as possible to the people I'm working for.
I think just looking at the four of you, it's just fantastic to see such bright faces with such bright futures. So do stay true to your beliefs, do stay true to our constitution. It's young people like you who can make the difference for millions of people in our country. Thank you so much for joining us on this program.